ba, ba, ba. Hey, top of the morning to you. I'm Michael. Grandkids call me Roo. Thanks for being on Roodoodles Live. It's Saturday morning. It is April the 29th. You know what that means? That means, that means I might have to give away a painting. I need to write this down. Hold on. If I don't write this down right now, I will flat out forget it. I always give away a painting on the first. Gave a couple away yesterday, but I'm going to give away a couple today, or one today anyway, for the first of the month giveaway. Give away, and that way I will have the first covered. So somebody today who and look, you don't have to comment 1,000 times unless you have a question or something. It just rolls through, and 3 names pop up, bing, and I throw out the top one, throw out the bottom one, take the one in the middle. And even if you've won one in the past, or if you own a collection of my work, thank you so much. But at the same time, send me an email, and I'll eventually get it to you. I have a couple promised. In fact, I have a major art project today that I have to finish up here. And no, I won't even finish it up, but I'll get close to knocking it out. It's really due. I got plenty of time. It's due on the 2nd. Okay. Hey, let me say hello to some of you. On the desk this morning, you're going to see a couple things. Clean piece of drawing paper here. I just bought some new paper, and like a goofball, I bought sketch instead of drawing for my desk cover, but I'm gonna sketch on it. I'm gonna draw on a piece of the sketching paper and see how that works. Kilimanjaro is always on my desk. I love this paper. I talk about it a lot, and I have learned how it works. I've learned how that my style works well on it. So I'm never going to be the guy who says you must use this. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I like it. I like it in my style. I love these little drawing pieces here, these little pads that I carry around. I give them at restaurants away. This is a Kilimanjaro. It's natural white, not pure white. And there's a little fishing fly that, dadgummit. Someone said love the shrimp. Did you see a shrimp there? Oh, do you see the shrimp already? I'm going to, we're going to do shrimp today. And so I'm feeling like shrimp. I woke up, you saw my post, I woke up thinking, man, I want some fried shrimp. And I'm thinking, there's something wrong with that for breakfast. There just is. I want a wedge salad, and I know just the place to get it, but I'm going to wait a little bit. But I'm going to talk about a shrimp in hot water, and so here's how this all starts today. Let me say hello to a couple of you, and as we'll move through, and I'll tell you about what I've been up to. Gene Anthalzer, thanks for being on the show. Dawn, as in Dawn. Hamilton Faust, thank you. Good morning from South Carolina, the whole city. Karen Bender, Marie Pikert, thank you from California. You and Denise pile in right there together. Thank you for getting up so early on the West Coast and tuning in. Denise, your crow made me laugh. Shared you out just now. Thank you, Dawn. I appreciate that. You know what they say, and I paint this often, when the rooster crows, hope dawns. There it is. Mike Paramore, I have not called you. You've noticed, right? I have just been, my shirt has not been touching my back. I've been running that fast. And so today, I'm going to slow down, paint a little here. Laura Abbott, thank you for saying hello. your sun-filled studio. I like that. Sue Kate, all the way from across the pond, as they say, South Australia. Sue Kate, your touch with flowers and teacups and it's beautiful. You got a style. I love it. Karen Binder, thank you so much for being on the show. JJ Das, Jennifer Hintz, driving home from Chicago, listening to you. Well, don't take your eyes off the road and your hands off the wheel. Don't get those two confused. Fern Skelly, thank you. I got a note from you yesterday, so I'll have to, it just came in late last night. I'll open it up. Thank you so much. Let's see. Barbara Mayer, thank you for being on the show. June Jones, JC Needles from Page, Arizona. Just ripped the page. All right, so here we go. Paula Lindy, thank you for being on the show. Alice Durham, Miss Carla, saw your post. Beautiful. Pam Bras. Is it Bras? Broyce? Bosch. I always forget. You guys have to forgive me on names. You know, I grew up in East Tennessee. All right. So Jane Heatrix, thank you for being on the show. Expecting lots of comments today. I don't know what that means, but I don't know what that means. But here's a comment for you. Don't chase parked cars. Okay, you know, my dad would always say, you know, I feel like the dog today that chased the car, and then when he caught it, he didn't know how to drive it. So some days I sit down at this watercolor desk and I think, what am I driving here? And I appreciate all y'all listening in, and I appreciate you making art and making a difference where you live. Okay, so here we go. Mary Hamilton, thanks for being on the show. Andy McBean. Terry Tardy, all the way from Coos Bay. I know that. Don't even have to see you. Well, the sun hasn't come up yet. Yeah, right. I know it hasn't. Laurie Stanley, Handelmeyer Henderson, Michelle Mace. Here we go. Hey, I'm going to talk about this paper, but not before I tell you that I did something, and I want you to know this. So if you always have a little notepad, some of the stuff you may want to write down and say, did he just make this up, or did he come up with this, or did he think of it? The all of the above is true. You know, I have this new palette, and so because it's a little larger palette and there's more paint in this palette than there's been in some of my other palettes, what I mean by that is it's not that there are more colors. I just have done 2 yellows, 2 reds, 2 blues, a couple more greens, and I've done a brown, and I've done a little bit of a, what would I call that? Maybe a, I don't want to say tan, but it's I don't remember. A French gray, a titanium white, and a buff titanium. And of course, Terry Tardy turquoise is right there. I did add a little color yesterday, and dadgummit, what is that color I added? It was another brown that I felt like I wanted to have in here. It's not a mummy brown, which is just not my least favorite. And I also added this color. Believe it or not, I put it in here, which I had in my other palette, and I've just put a tiny little half pan of it, Payne's Gray. And because I'm doing some shrimp, I added a little half pan of apricot. Well, don't you have apricots with your shrimp? So that's the palette. Now, this palette is all glued into this large pan. These are full pans. These are half pans. They're not glued in. They actually have magnets on the bottom. And by the way, can I just say this out loud to whoever the company is making those little flimsy, I have one here. Whatever company that you're buying these little flimsy square magnets from like this that come on a little flat plate, here's what you do with those. Find your trash can. This is this little square that they say, oh, it comes with the thing. And it literally is, seriously, a fly can knock this off. It has less magnetic ability than if I were to take a 9-volt battery and wrap a wire around my screwdriver or a paper clip. I can make a better magnet than this. So there, I'm complaining. The one you want to buy, I'm going to get it, so hold on. I'm on my soapbox today. If you're going to glue down pans in your palette, buy this type of adhesive magnets. It comes in a strip like this. It's about 2 times thicker than this already, and it's a brilliant little magnet. You can cut it with a razor knife. You can rip it in half with your hand. It has great adhesive on the end of it. It sticks well. If I put it down here, boom, and then the magnet works really well, and this magnet sticks so well to this. I mean, look, this is the cover that I did for my And it stays on. Did you see how well that stays on? Hold on, it's got paint and water on it this morning. That's a TV demonstration. The point is this. I can set my coffee cup on it, and that's why I did it. There it is right there. Finally, it sealed it. Okay, I finally got it to seal. It wasn't sealing. There it is. Now my hand's out of the way, and no trick photography. There's the camera. That's funny when you do that kind of stuff. So I just did this, but each one of these has a little strip of that magnetic under. So don't think you're getting a deal by buying the little half tins that come with the little flimsy pieces. Just throw those away. Go to the hardware store, buy some of this, and you'll be better off for it, okay? And don't let your grandchildren stick it to your TV set if you still have an old TV set like that. Trust me. Okay. All right. So here's what I was going to tell you about what I'm learning. I've got to wake these colors up. You know, sometimes I'll just bring a spray bottle in, and I'll just give them a little spray like this, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'll say, okay, wake up. You kind of yell at them. Sometimes I want them a little more solid, and right before I bring them into the painting, I want them to wake up. What do I do to do that? I take my water jar, in this case is a mason ball jar, and I go in and I put warm water in it. Or in fact, this was quite warm, almost not hot, but very warm when I brought it in the studio this morning. It's a little chilly here this morning. I heard someone say, hey, if you mix your paint in warm water, it'll dry faster. Not really, because it still has to dissipate and evaporate. But here's what it will do. Heat is a catalyst always. I'm a blacksmith, right? You don't pound cold metal. You heat it up, you soften it up. So if you mix sometimes with warm water, you will get a better consistency and your colors will wake up and mix more easily. That's what I'm going to say. Are there other things you can, and how do I know this? Because I do it sometimes. So today we're going to mix with a little bit of warm water, just putting my brush in that and then putting it in the painting. I'm going to do wet on wet, and yes, I'm going to do some shrimp right now. So let's get started, and we'll go from there. And you never know what will happen when you're live. Yes. Wait, there's more. Those magnets, yes. Linda Schleitning says, yes, those magnets have no, by the way, if you ever want to know what the best magnets are, we'll do that on the whole show sometimes. I did a project for a tool company where I had to put all of their demo tools on a steel wall. I created this steel wall and welded it all together and rusted it in the colors of their logos with these chemicals. And it's part of what I used to do in my shop, and they wanted their tools. So I would epoxy these massive magnets onto the back, and they held. These magnets will hold 25 to 40 pounds in sheer pull-off. It's unbelievable, but they're very expensive. And you're too big for this, but don't use those little flimsy, flat, square things that come with them. Don't be pulled into great magnets. No, they're not, okay? They wouldn't hold a fly's ice skates. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to use a different piece of paper today. I'm just going to use a piece of, I'm going to paint on this, but I think I'm just going to use regular watercolor paper. And I'm going to draw a shrimp on it. This is 140 Kilimanjaro. In fact, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to rip out two pieces of this right away. Watch what I did. This is bright white, 140 pound. You know this paper. It's rag cotton. This is the 140 pound piece. This is the fly leaf that covers each piece. So there's a piece of this between each 140 pound. I love that if you're out and about and you're sketching and you go like, oh my gosh, my Uber's here and I got to run. Or as I told some folks yesterday, I got to go catch an airplane and or a train to south of France, don't we wish? And so what I do is I just let this fly leaf fall down and protect it, and I close it on it. Try to get it as dry as you can. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to paint a shrimp on this, and I'm going to paint one on this, and I'm just going to show you that it's my job, it's your job as an artist to recognize how much water you're putting into the painting. You recognize how much pigment you're putting in. I get asked this all the time. I was asked this yesterday. I spent some time yesterday with people talking about journals and how they could put their own kits together, and just a great time of visiting with some folks and encouraging them to be artists and think like artists. It's really fun to get to do that with people. A couple people asked me about white. You don't have a whole lot of white in your palette. Well, my palette's not that big, but there is a little spot of white here. What do? Do you use that to tone down other colors? No, I don't. In fact, I don't mix in another palette at all. I've never done that. So there's not another step here, but where I take this out and mix it over here. This is not like oil and acrylic painting, you guys. I know you've heard this from me several times, but you still have this tendency to go back to your acrylic days and go, I'm going to put a little purple here, and then I'm going to bring in a little bit of white, and I'm going to lighten it up. Then I'm going to bring in a little bit of blue. I'm going to bring in a little, and so then you get this color that you go, ooh, I kind of like that. If you want to paint that way, that's fine. But it seems to me like you're staging here, then staging here. It seems to be a shadow in here, actually. Is there another light on somewhere? Yeah, I got a little bit of harsh lighting here. I changed it. It's dark outside today. There we go. All right, that's a little better. So some of you work from here, then you go in your days of, I've got to have another something to mix on. In fact, some people mix on a piece of glass, or especially if you're doing oil, and you put a little paint here, then you go in and you get a little this color and you put it here, and you'll go and you'll go, oh, I need a little green gold, and I go, oh, that's perfect. Let's put that in. I just don't do that. That's perfectly fine if you want to do that. I just love mixing, especially with warmer water, in the art itself and letting it go where it goes. It's more of a wet on wet style, but it works for me. All right, so two kinds of paper. I'm going to start with the thin one first. This is a fly leaf. It's like vellum, has a little bit of a coating on it. It's like the thickness is probably 50-pound drawing paper. Okay, it's not sketching paper because it's rougher. Picks up the charcoal and the graphite. I'm just going to use a Pentel 07. Do I have an 07 laying out here somewhere on the desk? There's one right there. 07 needle tip, not a ball tip, not a roller ball, a needle tip. And then I'm just going to paint this little shrimp like this. And here we go. All right. Cut out your white with your pocket knife, Mike Paramore says. Mike, that's a great idea too, by the way. If you don't leave holidays, you can just scratch a little white through the paint and the paper will appear. The reason that you don't need white in watercolor, and thanks, Mike, that's a great reminder. This is your white. That's why what I always say, leave the holidays. Let your paper be your white. Let your paintings breathe, people. Okay, we need a little shrimp painting music here. Let me see if I can find some shrimp painting music. Here we go. All right. All right, here we go. This is a little, I paint the shrimp, because I'm right-handed, a lot of my shrimp are going that way. It's just a muscle memory that I do. But I can paint one the other way. In fact, I'll just do it to show you right here. I'm gonna bring the head of this shrimp down. I had something laying over here that I painted this morning. I just want to show you a couple that I did. In fact, there's one going that way right now. Boom. Just blue, green. Does that not look like good fish color right there? Is that kind of cool? All right, so what I might do is I might start on the head and I might come down just like this, and then I'll just do a couple little rough spots on the head and bring that to a point. The eye of the shrimp is here. Sometimes I put it up top just for a little more caricature, a little more whimsy. And then I've got this piece coming in here. I bring this down. And this part of the shrimp to me is sort of where it's a little, it's not like I have not made him a complete rectangle. I've rounded off his back a little bit to give that a little bit of a shell housing because I want this next piece to drop inside that one. And I'll bring it in sort of like that. Maybe this one's thinner, and then maybe this one is going to go here so I'm starting his turn. So they're dropping in. Sometimes people draw shrimp like this. Okay, let's draw his head, and then let's draw these little boxes. And you go like, well, that could work, but you're going to have to do a little bit of work. In fact, it's hard for me to just draw these anymore but people do this. They think, no, it's not lined up like he's cut out of a roll of cookies. He's got a little bit of roll in there like the lobster. I think there's a lobster in here. Let me show you if there's a lobster in here. Yeah, there's a little lobster. See that? The lobster kind of has these little rolls that roll one under the other. And all of his scales and all of his sides aren't necessarily symmetrical. Now, here he's going to have one that's kind of turned down a little bit, and then we're going to go into that tail piece that's kind of a offset piece, something like that. So there's a good-looking little shrimp. He's on fly paper. He's on drawing paper. In here, he's got some, there's names for all these little leg pieces that he has. I'm just drawing these out. This one comes down, goes out, more like, these are like bee legs or animal legs, you know that. So the point is, you can draw your shrimp however you want to draw your shrimp. I just want to show you how I paint one. Someone asked me this yesterday, and I thought, I haven't done this in a while for folks on the show, so I just do a couple here for you this morning. Painting a shrimp to bluegrass music is probably not politically correct, but when have I ever worried about that? Okay, so I've got a number 6 brush, kind of like armor linked together. Shrimp on fly paper. Camera refocusing, is it? It's probably focusing on my hands. So that's probably what you're finding. Okay, so here we go. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little of this warm water and I'm just going to walk in here and I'm just going to let it break down some of my pen, starting at the top. Not the whole shrimp, just the top. See that? And I'm really not painting my brush like this. I'm just pushing it in. So we forget this kind of stuff that just happens. So there's a little bit of that. Now, might put a little bit of clean water along here, but I've got that moving up there, a little bit of warm water coming in. And I want a little bit of, I think just my ultramarine blue, and I'm going to start here and just sort of swipe it back very gently. And I'm just letting it lay in there. Look, I'm pushing it in and just letting it lay and roll down a little bit, okay? And I'm helping it right there roll down a little bit. Oh my gosh. Did you see what I did? I just touched some lines here to give it that feel that it's rounded off a little bit. You're in charge of where the water goes. And I'm going to tell you something. Where the water goes, your paint goes. That's why they call it watercolor, people. All right? Nothing new under what I do here. Okay. Excited to see my apricot color. Someone says, well, we're going to get there. I'm going to mix a little apricot. I'm not going to mix it. I'm going to throw it in, but I'll mix it. Now, I really feel like this shrimp needs a little bit of an orange underneath, and so I'm just going to go in here. And now that I have some of that, I'm going to take a clean brush. I'm washing my brush out. Warm water again. The water's not the trick. It could be warm or cold. What did I say about warm water? And by the way, this isn't drying any faster than if I'd use cold water. It just activates the paint a little faster and you get a little better consistent mix. I really do believe that. This isn't anything I've read. It's just example of me trying it and learning it. All right, so now I'm going to grab a little bit of orange and I'm just going to come in here and I'm pushing some orange along in this shrimp. Look, and when I say pushing, I'm doing probably what they never taught you in school. Don't push your paintbrush. Sometimes I want to push it. Sometimes I want to pull it down. Sometimes I'll just pull it like this, but I'm not painting like this. I'm not trying to create brush strokes. This is not oil painting, people, if you're joining me new on the show today. But I also think this shrimp needs a little bit of green in there, and I also think he needs just a touch of red because he's a Christmas shrimp. I just made that part up. He's not really, but I'm going to put some there like that. And then a little touch of yellow because, well, shrimp are kind of peachy and yellow when they're coming out of the water. Now I'm going to grab a little bit of this. Here it is right here. Look, I'm going to grab a little bit of this apricot. There it is right there. Just load my brush with a little bit of it. Not too much. Remember, I got a little warm water. Brush it in. Just pick up a tad. And I will tell you this. When you drop that warm water in there, the paint goes, hello, it's shower time. All right, so I'm going to put some of this right here. But I'm going to come back and I'm going to add a little bit of orange to it also. And so now I have these little flimsy legs of my shrimp that have a little bit of color that I didn't have to worry about. And where am I mixing this color? I'm mixing it right here on the shrimp. As a matter of fact, I'm going up into the palette and I'm grabbing some of the color out of here and I'm walking it down like this. And so I'm done with this shrimp, by the way, except for, wait, there's more. I'm going to go in with a fountain pen. And I'm just going to grab a Kakuno, because everybody should have one of those somewhere in your arsenal. If I don't want to use this, I'll maybe use another one. But I'm going to grab this Kakuno, and I'm going to put some little just dips and blips and flips and little black dots in there just to cause a little bit of undulations and roughness. I also am going to grab a smaller brush. Here's one right here. I think this is a number 1 rigger. And I'm going to get a little more of that blue, and I'm going to touch it right up in here and grab a little bit of just blue right there, and I'm going to splatter some just on there with that brush too. Look at that. Now remember, this is just fly paper. By the way, this paper will frame really well, and especially if you put a backing on it and just let it be. I drew on the back of it. And you see it's starting to come through a little bit because I've used a lot of water on a thin piece of paper. I'm going to paint this same looking shrimp going the other way on a piece of 140 pound next so you can see where I'm going, okay? Wait, there's more. Gene Antholzer says, oil paint is not that much fun. Yes, especially if you're painting with 30 weight motor oil, which is what I started with. I'm just kidding. I found that out somewhat similarly when I was playing with acrylics. It also made me realize just how confident I'd become with watercolors. And Laura, you say that, and the reason that you become confident is that it's uncontrollable and you don't know where it's going to go, and you feel confident in yourself that you can allow it to create. Let the art create what the art wants to create. And you're going like, well, that's the silliest thing I ever heard. You know, I can't just yell at this and make a shrimp come out. But at the same time, you can also just get things going in the right direction and let the fumato, let the mushrooming, let let it come together. And I think that's the fun part for people that they don't realize they can do. So for me, these legs right here are not really important. Everybody knows a shrimp has them. You just rip them off and throw them in the trash anyway. You go, get rid of that. I don't want that near me when you're eating shrimp. Go in here, grab a little more of that apricot. Isn't that cool color? I had it in my other palette, and I used it sometimes. Sometimes I didn't even refer to it. I could use a titanium buff here. I could also use a little bit of orange on just a couple of these pieces just to let the extremities get a little where they're out there. And then here, if I want a little more veining in the shrimp, I'll go in here and just touch a little blue up there in those areas. And look at the water still run down. Now, thin paper allows this to stay wetter much longer. Did you hear what I said? Thin paper allows a lot more water to stay there. So you see some shimmer on this. It's hard for you to see it. Let's see if I can get it in the light so you can see it. No, yeah, there's a little bit right there. There it is. There it is. Look at the little shimmer on that. That's where I've got a ton of water laying here. But look at this come together. Look at the hard line starting here. This is a cool looking shrimp. Even if I did paint it myself. I know I'm not being goofy when I say that. It looks good. This would be signable and hangable, except for those little draw-throughs and they would probably be gone. Yeah, you might see some. Maybe I could write shrimp on the back of it or something. So anyway, I'm gonna paint another one. I'm gonna lay this one down over here in a flat place. Need a flat spot. There we go. There we go. I just put it on this right here, and I'm going to lay it over there flat. And I'm going to grab this piece of paper and come in, and let's do another one going the other direction. Same pen, different paper. This is 140 pound rag cotton. So what does that tell me? Well, it tells me immediately that painting on a rag as opposed to painting on a piece of paper, painting on a cloth, I'm going to have to use a little more water to get that flow, to get that feeling of the same movement of colors. All right, so painting my buddy shrimp, okay. All right. Would love to see you working on a fully wet paper. Yeah, and I don't do that much. That's not my style. For landscapes, I think that's great. You can come in and literally douse the paper. I've put paper in a sink and then put it back up and let it run down. I've also taken a 2-inch brush. There's some over there. I've got an 1.5 inch big flat brush, and I've let it roll across the top. But that's not my style. I'm not a landscape painter. I'm not good at landscape. In fact, I love my camera landscape shots of the Blue Ridge Mountains better than I paint them. So does that tell a story to me? Yes, but that's not where I go. But so I appreciate that. But I do get it, and I've done it. I don't think I've ever sold a landscape. I don't think that I ever wanted one, that I liked one maybe well enough to sell. But I appreciate that. And I know artists who do soak their paper. Oh my gosh, and they get it just completely full. And there is something about, if you're looking for a faded sky and you start across the top and then you do a dry brush across that one and then a dry brush across that one, it's on wet paper. It's remarkable what comes out. I love it. So, sorry. Just blew out my Okay. Oh, seriously? All right, here we go. Jason, I think you're on. I think I just saw you pop up on the show. Good to see you. Waking up, tuning in. I like all the pin on the shrimp. I do too, and I love those lines. So here we go. Here's another shrimp, another piece of music. Wash water. That'd be good. Where'd my audio go? All right, so here we go. So this shrimp's going to go this way. And so there again, I'm going to come in with that head. I'm going to put a couple of those dimples in there like this and come out with this point of the nose. Eye either up here or here. And then this, got some, I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to cut this down around and bring it in like that. So you see what I did? Instead of making that a rectangle, I bring it back here. And then I'm going to pull this piece down, bring it in like this. Someone said they're like armor scales, and yes, they are somewhat. Come in close to that. Come in a little here. Bring this one down, bring this one down. Most of them, you can lay a shrimp out if you want to and bring him out curved around. This last one has a little bit of a longer piece where his tail is, and so that's one reason you can turn the tail like that so it does look like he's swimming about and kicking around, okay? Now, in here you got some of these little pieces that just kind of come out. They are legs. They're called, there's a name for them. I did all the study of shrimp when I was digging up just all the parts and all the little feelers and the arms and the whole deal. He's got a big old head on him. He's a langoustine. And so he's a French shrimp who's ready for tonight's meal. I like them lightly fried. I always, the lady who waits on the table, this little place we go to, it's called Pearls. Good name for a restaurant, isn't it? And she says, I know, I'll tell him. I go, thank you. And they all have some of my paintings in there that I take in these little drawings, and I do a little shrimp, and I'll do the shrimp cocktail for them on a piece of drawing paper. And there's a couple at the bar, and you know, I mean, look, I do that. Why do I do that? I do it because people love original art, and they have fun with it. And so for me, it's really a fun thing to give some art away like that, and also say, hey, I appreciated your food. Here's the way I found my shrimp tonight. I don't want him crusty brown. I just don't want you to go get the brown paint and go, all shrimp are brown. No, they're not. In fact, I want to do some multicolor. So here I go. So he's sketched with the same pencil, all right? Sketch with the same pencil. And so just a little bit of water. I'm using a number 6 American Journey interlock nylon brush. I'm going to do the same thing I did. It's clean brush, clean water. Well, it's beginning to turn a little gray. It's still warm to the touch. There it is right there. Nice clean jar too. All right, so here I go. I'm going to go and I'm going to pick up some of that bleed from my pen and let it help me make the joints. That's why I like the bleed. I'm not introducing a watercolor pigment, but this is a pigment. And I'm putting a little more water in here. I'm coming in like this. Just letting this warm water bleed across my painting. Now, I see already that had I put as much water on this painting in this thin piece of paper, I would be in serious trouble. But now I've got to put more water on this one because it's soaking it up so fast because it's cotton paper. It behooves you, if you're not doing this, try to do this. If you want to see your art improve, buy 2 pads of paper that you're going to paint with. Practice on one, do your finishes on the other. Now, sometimes your practice will be better than your finished work. But my point is, you learn to paint on the piece of paper. You learn to practice on the piece of paper that you're going to paint your originals on. Because we all go, okay, now I've got some old paper. Now I'm going to get some good paper and try it. And you go like, whoa, it didn't do anything I wanted it to do. Why not? Different style of paper, different push. Watch what happens when I lay this enough water up there, and now I'm going to do the same thing. Look, I'm pulling some of this down, just making it go where I think it needs to go. All right. I want this shrimp to have a little more orange and yellow in his head, so I'm going to pull some gamboge in here. My favorite yellow. I use in the roosters. There it is coming in right there. By the way, it's hitting the blue and it's turning into a green. You got to love that, right? It's mixing right on here, and it's happening the way I want it to happen. Why? Well, because it has nowhere else to go, and it's going to have to mingle together. It's going to have to just have a little square dance. So there comes this, a little more orange across the bottom, like so. And the roots of these legs here can have some serious orange in them before I come in with that little lighter or apricot. I was saying earlier, in watercolor, don't get pulled into thinking that, well, I use this blue, I'll need a lighter blue, I'll mix it with white. That works in oil painting. It doesn't work in watercolor painting. Just use more water, and guess what will happen to your blue paint? It'll thin out and become thinner. If you put too much white in the blue, you deaden both colors, and they lose their brightness. Didn't learn this stuff in art school, and there's a reason for that. I didn't go to art school. So I tell Carol, that's why people have mercy on me. They go, he doesn't know anything, so just let him get out there and do what he does and have some fun with it. And so thank you very much. I love a little more green on this one. He's been on the bottom of the ocean, and he's got a little bit of reckless abandon going on, a little more here in his tail. Man, he's got some great colors. Now, I like him. I'm going to come in here and just do a spot in the eye. Boop. There's that boop. You have to make the sound effect. It just works so much better. So there's my shrimp. And now what would I do to make him pop just a little bit more? I could come in here with a little bit of blue, a little bit of water first. See how... Okay. Now, this one, let me compare them to two. Well, we'll let this dry a little bit. He's still wet, but once he dries, I want to tell you, if I don't add any more water and any more color, he's going to dry brighter than this one. This is on the fly leaf or sketch paper. He looks cool, but he's going to dry a little more matte finished. We'll call him matte. This one we'll call Bright Bill, because he's going to finish up a little brighter, and there's going to be more of that color contrast because of what happens in 140-pound paper with the rough undulations. It's going to hold that color up. There's going to be more diamond rings, ladies. You have facets cut in your diamond ring because the light hits it from different places and makes it bright. Ta-da! Rough paper lets the light hit it from different directions, and so that paint sort of glistens on the edge and it gets struck with light. Light is your friend here. There's little holidays that I left in here. I would have loved to have left a little more there, and I didn't. So what? I'll do it on the next one. That's just me getting in a hurry and switching from paper so fast, because my brain has to go, okay, different piece of paper, remember what happens here. So I can't just go in and go willy-nilly and treat every piece of paper the same, and that's what we do. We go, I painted one of these last week in this show, and then I showed up. Yesterday, I painted something for someone just as a demo and said, hey, look at this. And I had some different paper, not the paper that I normally use. It was what we call a grade school paper. It's kind of I call it the tractor page, where it's not a natural rough press, but it looks like it's been rolled over by the same. For me, Fabriano has this effect sometimes. Sometimes some journals will have this effect where the page is just like, it's like they took one big press and went, it's like a cookie press. All the lines are the same and they repeat. Here, it's a good example of it right here. Here's a great example of it. You see this paper towel? All of these repeat because it's molded like this. But when it's molded naturally in a rough form and you let the water dry on it and it's rag cotton, you get an undulation that's natural. Pick up a piece of smooth polished stone and pick up a natural stone and look at the surfaces and you realize, wow, there's more undulations here. And it's obvious, right? But you see, so that's the same thing you're going to get with this paper. This shrimp looks like he could probably use a couple more legs coming down like this, maybe turning back this way, maybe one coming down here, turning in that way. He's swimming, he's kicking around. I'm going to add a little more of my color in there, just a little bit of this apricot. Why did I do the apricot? Well, shrimp legs are a little more transparent. I'll pick up some of this. I might even go in here and just touch a little bit of orange like I do on my lobster legs. Just grab that like that. And so, and I like a little more on these here. Sometimes these will have a little touch of a brown to them. And so I might catch some of this brown, a little bit of an amber, a little bit of You know what? I'm just going to have to go over there in a minute and get the name of this paint and show you what I put in there. So sorry, but I haven't yet. Okay, and then let's use a little of this for just get a rusty spot in there. You know, I mean, come on. He's been on the bottom. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the pen. You ready? Here we go. I'm going to take my fountain pen while this is still drying, but it's still a little wet. And I'm just going to put some it's too wet for that pen. All right, watch this. I'm going to change pens. I'm going to go with a preppy pen because carbon ink will just find its way right to this. Okay, so there it goes right there. So it's making a little, well, once this one starts writing, it will. There it is. Grab a little piece right there. You see it? It's coming out of the pen. It's making little dots. Those little dots are catching the water, and they're beginning to move around. Catch these little lines here a little bit. I love the pen lines in a drawing. It's not that I'm trying to fool people. That's a real shrimp. That's not my style. If you're a realist painter, I love that about you, and God created you that way. I'm not. So I'm going like, look, he drew this. And you go like, really? Of course he drew it. Okay? So that's kind of where my brain gets off of that bus. That's my style. That has nothing to do with me critiquing your work. All right. A little more red up here. This going into this blue is giving me a little bit of purple. And then let's just grab a little bit of this brush here. Come in with my brush and just do some splatter around. Boom, boom, boom. Maybe a little heavier brush. Let's just get a little more of that blue splatter in there, the water. Now we're talking. And maybe a little more clean water. Splatter that. There we go. Now we got that guy in some splash. And I think with this right here, RoodoodlesLive.com, may I have this dance? All right. Why would I do that? Okay, because I'm going to give this away. All right, here we go. Here we go. Boop, boop. I'm scrolling up, scrolling down, scrolling up, scrolling down. Got the names moving over here. I've got this little goes back and forth. A little comment column that comes in with your comments on it. So if I take my two fingers on my trackbar on my computer, and once they're selected, I scroll down, scroll up, scroll down, scroll up, and then I spin it once, I push it once, I pull it once. I can see how the corner of my eye's moving, but I can't read anything. It's just going by. And then I'm stopping. I don't know whether you're on the start or the stop. Boom. And so, believe it or not, it goes to June Jones. I've got Karen Bender. I've got Barbara Meyer. That's the three names that are on my screen. So June Jones, it's yours. Send me an email. I'll send it to you. There it is. It's 5.5 by 9, and there's an original Doodle shrimp. Did you know I own shrimpdoodles.com? Yes, I do. It's not a page. Don't go look for it yet, but I own the domain. In fact, it just reminded me because it registered this morning. Again, I have to pay so much for the domains that I own. I own quite a few little domains when I was doing a lot of work like that. And so that's kind of where it is. So June Jones, if you're still on the show, send me an email and say, hey, I wanted to dance with that shrimp, and I'll put it in a, well, there you are. Yes, you say awesome, thanks. So Debbie Dukovich, thank you for being on the show. Thanks for being on. Jacqueline Browse, let's see, Pat Brooks, hello. Pat gave a book away yesterday, Noodle Doodle Fiddle Piddle, talked about you, and said thank you to a group of folks. I was just happened to be, I walked into an art event. It's called Hands Create. It's in Charlotte, North Carolina. I just went by to say hi to them and hang out for a minute, and they had an event going on, and so I gave away one of the books. It was kind of fun. And so thank you. Sandra Stone, thanks for being on. Glad you're on the show today. Amy Roach, thanks for being here. All right, so here we go. Would like to see what you're doing. Oh, okay. So use 300-pound paper in front of Kilimanjaro. Yeah, Jason, that piece of 300 pound that's on the front of this book right here, and I ripped this one off last night because I did it. You can put that baby in the sink and let it lay there for a while. It is like it will hold some water, and it takes some work. If you haven't painted on 300-pound paper, I'm just going to tell you, it's a whole nother ball game. But I like this one here. He needs a little bit of see. Put the brush down and back away from the painting. He needs a little bit of some orange spots in him, and I'm done. That's it. That's all I'm going to do to that guy right there. He's cool shrimp. All right, I'm putting him up here, and you thought I was going to give this one away, huh? Well, if I hadn't written on the back, it would have been good, but it's going to be hard to thinking. We're like, what do you use, an old newspaper? So this was going to be fun. June Jones is coming to you if you send me an email. And if there, let me check if there are any questions. Let me go up and search any QQQ if you got a question. None. All you people are going like, nah, I don't want to know what that guy knows. Not a worry. All right, here we go. I'm going to paint a little piece on this drawing paper because I'm going to take a shrimp with me tonight. I'm into shrimp today. That's all there is to it. This is B number 940, Mike Paramore. I have not forgot about calling you, and I'll do so. Thank you, man. I'm just had a slowdown on a project. You guys can think about me today. 2 months ago, 3 months ago now, I went down to Woodstock, Georgia, and I spent the day painting live, some very large paintings. I came back and scaled those down again, scanned out all the originals, did about 5 or 6 originals, and those went to Cincinnati, where the artists were putting them together and blowing them up for the wall of a restaurant. They're the band for the original Hot Chicken. And now that company has hooked up. Then I met some of the chefs out of California at a place called Inked, I-N-K-E-D, Ink, like ink tattoo. It's called Inked Taco. And Inked Tacos is opening in Atlanta. And so they want a couple of roosters on the wall, but they want it tied into their Inked brand. And so I got a couple tattooed roosters and a Rube Goldberg machine that I'm working on for them to put together. And so the preliminaries for that and not the finals, but almost have to be done early next week. And so then I've got a magazine deal to do for Grit next week. And then I have a Chicken Whisperer magazine to do next week. And then I have a dear niece that I just left out in the cold and did not send her a painting in my life. And I've got to finish one for Tracy. So that's coming. So I've got some busy stuff that I'm doing. In the middle of that, I'm doing some fun consulting work and letting some to go. And then let's see, this is Saturday. So Monday I may show up and I may not. Depends. Tuesday I will be on Good News Roo at 8:57, and we're painting through the Gospel of John. That's just jump on live if you want to do that. That's at 8:57 Tuesday morning. Good News Roo YouTube, and then that was made possible by the Patreon people who supported me. That I tried that for a year, and I really realized it had a home somewhere, and so we switched it over to let more people be a part of it. And then my Patreon class is still Tuesday also at 9:37. And I'll do that. So a busy guy. I did these couple little penguins here. If they come into focus, will they? I don't know. What happened here to my camera? My camera just went out of focus. There it is. Okay, it says $5. I cleared it, and it goes, you can't spend it. So these are, there's another little lobster, and I'm going to do a shrimp on this just to show you what these look like when I do them in a restaurant really quickly. And sometimes I'm in a restaurant, and all I'm carrying with me is my fountain pen and my little palette and a water brush. In this case, I'll still just use a little brush, but I have a little nylon water brush. See if I have one with water in it, I'll just use it. Here, hold on. Let me just put some water in it. Boop. There's a little bit right there. Okay. This is a Pentel water brush. I think this is a new one. Hasn't been used before. Okay, there it is. So this is what I carry with me to the restaurant like tonight. And so that's where I'll walk in. Let me move these up so you can see this a little better. Right there. Can you see that? There we go. Okay. So Carol and I have had a dinner, and I'm sitting around. I'll reach into my jacket pocket. I love wearing jackets. I like vest and jacket. I have a scarf today because it was cold. And I reach in, I'll grab out my little field notes guide, or I'll grab out this little drawing pad. And this is the drawing paper that I use, 24 sheets of 80 pound. It's got a medium surface. And it's made by Strathmore. You can get, I think you have to order this one. I don't think big box stores like Michael and places carry this one. You can get them from Cheap Joe's Art Stuff. You get them from Blick, Jerry's Artorama, places like that. I think these are all from Cheap Joe's because I was there this week and picked up a couple more. So I'll sit down and I'll go, hey, let's say I'm going to have shrimp tonight. I'm going to have fried shrimp, and I'm going to have a wedge salad, which has unbelievable little beautiful grape tomatoes and marvelously cooked bacon with their homemade blue cheese. Yeah, I'm getting hungry too, but I don't think I can eat it for breakfast. I think I got to wait for dinner. And so I'll just do a quick little shrimp cocktail. So it goes like this, and I don't do all the details, but I kind of get to the same piece. I just run it out like this, and then I'll make it, and then I'll go out one. And so this is about how long it takes me to do this in the restaurant. And so this is why I'm showing you now how fast this happens. It's got to happen just about like this. And so I'll take these legs, and I'll make them go out just a little longer. So I'll bring one down like this, and this is the one, of course, that's going to get the cocktail glass. There it is right there. You can see that coming down. I think you can see that coming down, and then it's going to just run off to a foot, and I'm going to go ahead and put an olive in there now, and I'm going to wrap this arm around. Then I'm going to do another little arm coming down like this. Boop. And look, I'm not studying whether or not I get these exactly right. It's not about anatomically correct. Is that the right word? And I'm going to put his eyes sometimes on a little pedestal up there like this, and I'm going to bring this around. And so this is, and now what I'm doing now is I'm taking my pen. This is a fountain pen. This is the Kakuno, and I'm actually putting some black inside here. There's those little cleats that are on the back. They're a leg. They've got a name. I just can't remember what they're called right now. Somebody can look it up later. Don't worry about it now. And so there's my little shrimp. And now I've got this. I've got my little palette. I either have this one with me or I have my this one. Both. They're the same, really. This one's just in. This one holds 6 full pans. This one doesn't. But this is kind of what I do. So I just grab this, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to start with a little bit of yellow on him completely, just because I know what's going to happen when I put this yellow against this ink. It's going to start turning a little dark because this ink runs more than the others. You know that from watching me paint so many times. I've got a little napkin there, and if they have, this restaurant has cloth napkins, and so I'll say, could you bring me a couple bar napkins? Most of the time I have a paper towel rolled up in my jacket pocket, and so I want a little bit of blue in here, so I'll just bring off a little of that. What am I going to get from that blue? I'm going to get a little bit of green, but I've got a clean brush going in. Remember, I did this. Never put a dirty brush back into your colors. Come a little bit of red in here because I want some orange just to creep in, just a little bit. Maybe a little more red here to just let that shrimp look like he's cooked, and then it'll come out. So in this one, I don't have any apricot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with a little bit of this yellow, and I'm going to come right in here with a little orange and yellow. I'm just going to make a little lighter color of orange yellow just right here, and just let it mix in. So that's all I really need. I'm going to establish the cocktail green just because, I don't know, they stand out at the bar. They're ugly. I don't drink cocktails. That's not a statement on you if you do. It's just I don't really care for alcohol. It's just like, yeah. So anyway, and okay, so there it is. Now I need this glass to have a little blue in it, and so we come in like this and just touch it like that. And so then take a look at what's happening right here. The green and the blue and the ink are all running together. I'm going to come in on this just a little bit and let you see what's happening right here. I love that. That just blows my mind. I'm going to come in here and get a little of this red, and I'm going to put it right here in this leg. Carrying a little brush. Oh, sorry. Picked up the wrong brush, but I can do that with this too. It works just as fine. I want to come in and grab a little touch of blue, and I want to put a little spot of blue eye right there. I'm going to come in and put a little more of this veining right there. And now what I might do is just take a clean brush like this, and just sweep. Uh-oh, dropped a little too much water right there. Might just sweep a little bit of yellow into this tail and just let it come down a little bit more like that, but not too much. I think he's done. So I'll sign him to someone tonight, and I've already got one done. So, and then I'll come back in. Once again, I may pick up my pen and I might put in some irregular, what we call beauty spots. And you're like, beauty spots? Why are you just putting that on there? Because it makes him look like he's 1,000 years old. All right. So there's how I paint one on a little piece of cloth. And by the way, notice again, let's see if you can see it. Here we go. There it is. Look at the shimmer on that. You see that? That's water still laying on the surface of a piece of paper that is not rough press, not hot press, not watercolor paper. It's drawing paper. So you're in charge of how much water you put on your painting to make it work. Water, color. Add some water, add some color, add some water, add some more color, add a little more color, sometimes insert a pen, and then pull back and just watch it take place for a second, and you will love the results that you come up with. You'll go, I don't understand how this artist, you're not talking about me because I'm not an artist, I think like one. You don't understand how he got that painting to happen in there. We watched him. No, you didn't. If you watch me do this, you didn't. You watched me just punch at it and play with it and put it around. I am like the kid who is in the mud pile with a sharp stick. I'm just poking it around a little bit. If I wear out a brush that costs $17, so what? This is what I do. You have golf clubs that cost more than that, or tennis rackets, or pickleball courts. This is what I do. So this is the kind of stuff that I want you to understand that you can do and that you can bring it to it. Yeah, Debbie, thanks. What we do is we don't pay attention. We don't pay attention to how much water we use most of the time. And most of the time we use too little. We're afraid. Or we use it at the wrong time. We put our colors down there, then we put the water on, and we try to make it do what we want it to do. And what we do is we take the brightness out of the pigment. If you want to practice your watercolors, and you know where this is happening for folks who I teach at a deeper level and really lay into them for 30 minutes on taking notes, the Patreon folks, get yourself 3 pieces of paper that you think you love. Is it Fabriano? Is it Arches? Is it Hanamula? Is it Cheap Joe's? Is it Kilimanjaro? Is it Strathmore? Is it Canson? I don't care. I don't care what it is, but cut it up in small pieces and then try to paint the same thing over and over and over on it and learn that what you do. Now, the only difference between this painting and this painting is, okay, lots of differences. Right and left, orange and blue, but same style of paper. I'm paying attention from just practice over and over and over. It's not that I know more than you. It's not that I'm a better artist than you. It's just that I'm paying attention to how much water I'm putting in here. I'm watching out for that. I'm going to show you something. If I go in here and just get a little orange and just drop it right there. Why did you do that? Because as I looked at it and I see, because there's more water on here, I see it react. And by the way, I used a different pen. This pen bleeds 3 to 4 times more than this pen. So I painted this with this pen. So in a restaurant, when I'm doing this in 2 minutes, less water. Where do I get my water in a restaurant if it's not in this brush? I carry a brush with me. I think some of you know that. I carry a brush like this with me all the time. Here's one still in this wrapper. A brand new one, as a matter of fact. I think this brush is, this is kind of an expensive brush. But I tell you why I carry it. Because when I'm out painting like this, here it is right here. I love to reach in, and I'll wear one of these out in about 6 months. And so this is a pseudo, in fact, this one has a little right there that needs to be trimmed off. So I'll take some little nail clippers or my little pocket knife and trim that off. But this is a pseudo sable nylon mixture. And this is a Joe Miller brush. You can buy some of these inexpensively in some places, but they wear out really fast. So get a decent one. But this is what I'll do. And I'll just say, could you bring me a small glass of water? Or could you bring me a cup with just, would you pour about this much coffee in one of your cups and bring it to me, please? And they'll go, sure. And they'll go, oh, is that what you were doing? I go, yeah, but this is for you. And they'll go, next time you ask me for anything, I'll bring it. Okay, well, this is my calling card. This is my business card. Where's yours? Okay. Now, these are going to dry like matte. This one's going to dry a little brighter like Bright Bob. There he is, okay? All right. Now, at this distance in this camera, you can't tell the difference, but there's my shrimp today because it's going to be a shrimp day. I got an art day filled here, and we'll go from there. So, it's going to be about wrapping up here. I teach my class, practice makes permanent. That sounds like a hair salon joke, but I'm not going to go there. Okay. Wow, Jacqueline says 21 days to go, retire after 36 years on June 1st. What size is that brush? Thank you for asking that question. That is a number 4. This is a number 4. Boom. This slides in here. I generally just wet it a little bit, pull it with my fingers to get all the little bristles in. And that's probably what's happened to that when I was out on the road and didn't pay attention. But in fact, I'm going to cut that off. I'll remember after the show's over, but here's what I'll do. I'll slide it in just like this, and I'll just rotate it in there a little bit, pull it back once or twice to make sure that it seals in like that. That goes in my pocket. It has a little hole here in the end, so if there is moisture in there, it lets it air dry and there's liquid droops out, but I tend to dry it before I do. And that'll fit in your purse. That fits with everything that I need to go. By the way, I do carry, I think some of you know, I do carry ripped down pieces of 140-pound watercolor paper with me that are about the same size. Still in that 4x5 whiskey painter style. This is 4x6, so it's a little larger, but really, this is a 4x5. My image here is about 4x5. That's about 20 square inches. I just love that size. It works for my roosters. It works for just about everything that I do. The brush, once again, is here's what it's called. It's called the Miller. Here, I'll just unwrap this one and tell you. It's called the Miller's Pseudo Sable. Miller's Pseudo Sable. It's a number 4, and there it is right there. Okay? And I think this brush is 18 or 20 bucks. Maybe the bigger one is 25 or 30 bucks. So you're going to have to invest in this. This is a number 8. So there you go. Look at the size of that rascal. But I use these on the road quite often. And so when I'm out traveling around and I don't want to carry my long handle brushes, these fit right into my bug out bag very well. It protects the bristles. So if I'm doing something where I need to come in and do some small work like this, I'll do it. That's what they're for. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. It's called the Miller, and that's Joe Miller. So Cheap Joe's is where I get these. Are there other companies out there? You bet there are. Enjoy, find what you like. I just love this company, and so that's kind of why I stay with Cheap Joe's. I like who they are. I like their family. I like their humor. I like their storytelling. So that sounds like a commercial for them, and maybe it is. That'd be fine. Okay. All right. That's my painting for today. Let me back out on this desk a little bit. You'll see all 3 of my paintings right there today. Drawing paper, a flyleaf paper, and a piece of 140-pound Kilimanjaro rag cotton, and there they are. Shrimp it is. These were frozen, yes. Mary Hamilton saying she's frozen. These were frozen before they were shipped in. I'm out of here. Hey, have a great weekend. June Jones, you're going to send me a note. Meant 4, but fat fingers. I'm not sure what you said. I bet 5. I'm going to throw a couple out on an auction today, and that'll probably be these 2 right here. And so this one you can put a piece of white paper behind. I'll come up with something and go on the fly, or I'll do something. And those are going to go out on the auction today. I'm out of here like a herd of turtles. Thanks for being on this show. Thanks for sharing it. And thanks for checking out Good News Roo. And I'm blessed to do what I do on Saturday mornings sometimes. Now I've got to go. I'm going to go right now and I think make an omelet. I didn't hardly eat yesterday. I just was so busy that I just ran fast paced. So I think I'm going to eat today. So I got up thinking about shrimp, I believe. So blessings to you. Thanks for sharing my show, and thanks for following Roodoodles. And keep plowing. Stay behind the mule. If you haven't read Noodle Doodle Fiddle Piddle, I'd say go buy a copy. You're not going to get a copy from me right now because they're somewhere in transit, but you could get one shipped out from Amazon. Hey Roo, What's a Wheelbarrow is the other book, and don't forget the coloring book that I have that's called Robots. But Noodle Doodle Fiddle Piddle, Pat's been on the show today, and she did a marvelous job of how she illustrates things. Some of you are very talented. Keep pushing your art, keep pushing yourself, and keep sharing art with other people. Trust me, if there was a time in life that we needed to share some things, this is it. Hospitality, spontaneity, love, art. I sound like a hippie out of the 60s, don't I? Okay, I'll pause.